big news in the paddock this weekend. Andretti and Cadillac are already splitting after one season. BMW will deliver powertrains to the team and own equity within the team starting next year. Along with this move, BMW will be sending advisor Fernando Alonso to be the team principal of the team next season.
How about that news to kick off the episode for the Singapore Grand Prix weekend? Right there, you heard it. Andretti will be switching after just one season with funding from Cadillac. Well, BMW is going to be expanding from their own team to as well being an engine supplier and, well, a team partner with Andretti starting next season. A part of that relationship is they will be sending Fernando Alonso over to be the team principal of this team for Andretti going forward into the final season of this career mode. So you're going to see a lot more Fernando Alonso presence going forward as we'll be hearing him in future episodes. Very exciting to see how that is going to work out in the future. Will we finally see that team make some improvements, as it's been a bit of a rough season for that team with Lawson as well as Gasly behind the wheel. I hope you're all having a great day. We're back here fresh off of a win, our 5th win of the season in the Italian Grand Prix, and we rolled through into the Singapore Grand Prix weekend. If you guys have been around for a while, you know that Singapore is my all-time favorite Grand Prix in Formula One. We have yet to conquer this street circuit, however, of course, one of the most demanding tracks in Formula One, the longest race of the season, and especially when it rains, which it will do at some point towards the end of the Grand Prix this weekend. Qualifying, this is one where I have such a comfortability around this circuit, such a good pace, that I expect to be fighting for pole tonight. Started with a solid Q1. You notice I forgot to change the team names in qualifying. That is fixed, by the way, for the Grand Prix. But yeah, pace is good, comfortability is good, everything's good. When it comes to Singapore, I have no issues around this circuit, and I feel like I can push limits when I need to. Q2, I put in a pretty safe lap, and it showed on the leaderboard. We were only P10, which was enough to move us through. Connorsport out with Jack Doohan, as well as Jamie Chadwick, Yuri Vips, Liam Lawson, Pierre Gasly, the pair of Andretti's out of qualifying. Into Q3, our first lap in Q3, we're making 2 attempts. Our first set of tires, we go P2, we split the McLarens, so we make a lap late in the session where 3 cars are back on track. Myself, one of the Ferraris, and one of the Trackhouse cars, which I believe is Charles Leclerc. Well, we find the time immediately. A purple Sector 1, Aiden Jackson. We want to dethrone him, get another win here today after his 4th place effort in Monza. If we could have another one of those again, we could be in good shape. Leclerc goes pole position here, dethrones Jackson himself. We have found over half a second of improvement here as we come up on these final few moments, and I make a bit of a mistake there, going a little bit too deep so we don't gain much time, but through the final corner, I think it's enough. Here we go to the line, and sure enough, it's pole position.
Okay, good job, mate. Really, really well done. That was a fantastic drive. Bring it home.
Obviously, really happy with that qualifying attempt here. Now, our teammate Drugovich down in P9, while the 2 McLarens, 3rd and 4th, Mercedes just behind them. But yeah, I mean, we're in the perfect position. Let's just try to manage this Grand Prix and get 2 back-to-back wins here and win number 6 on the season.
Marina Bay hosted a Grand Prix that briefly ran in the 60s and 70s, but the Garden City re-entered the calendar for good in 2008. We missed it for a couple of years, but it was great to come back to the Singapore Grand Prix. Here's the track, and it's all changed for 2023 with 4 corners removed between turns 16 and 19. It means the lap length is now just over 3 miles, and that might come as a welcome relief to the drivers, or especially their brakes. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Golden Boy lines up on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Jackson, Albon, Norris, Russell, Oscar Piastri, Mayer, Drugovich, Hamilton, Doohan, Chadwick, Yuri Vips, Liam Lawson, Gasly, Vesti, Sato, Ocon, Joe, and Yuki Tsunoda. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. And with me today, of course, is Natalie Pinkham. Let's talk about Golden Boy. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
It's been a really solid year so far. There have been some incredible standout performances. But what's really impressed me has been the consistency. With this kind of form, I'm expecting another good race today.
We're ready to roll then here from Singapore. Now, we're actually going to be starting on mediums because we're trying to take this set of tires to the rain. It shows in the final 2 slots, which I think hopefully will come earlier, as a lot of the times it does, as we get ready to roll for the formation lap.
The formation lap gets underway then, and it's going to be interesting today to see how the dry conditions could affect the lifespan of the tyres.
A very split strategy throughout the field, but our main rival, Aiden Jackson, on mediums, and while his teammate Albon, our whole rival team on mediums, which really led to this decision for us to as well go on to the medium tire.
We're almost ready to start the race as the cars take their positions on the grid, with the drivers and teams making their final preparations.
All right, mate, a good qualifying effort for once. Maintain first here off the grid.
Yep, 10-4. Let's have a good one, guys. Keep me updated on the rain. And you hear me asking for update on the rain. So it is supposed to rain. We're hoping the mediums will take us to the point of the rain, but we'll have to wait and see. Some drivers electing to go on softs, maybe not thinking it's going to rain before the mediums would have to switch over to a hard compound tire. We're really just going to have to wait and see what happens, but I kind of based it off of the weather and what my rivals were doing, which they are on mediums. We're ready to lead the field here in Singapore 5. Red lights, and it's lights out. We're racing, and immediately you can see a great start for us on the run down towards turn number 1. We have yet to win at our favorite circuit in Formula 1. Is tonight the night. Piastri trying to make it a Trackhouse 2-3 as Leclerc has gotten away well. Piastri is well on the softs, putting the attack on the medium tire. As you can see, both Albon and Jackson will drop down to 4th and 5th. Perfect for us here. Now, what's not so perfect is the 2 cars lining up right behind me are on soft tires. Leclerc has already gotten to the back of me. He shows the nose, but it's not enough. He'll stay put in 2nd place. Exactly what I want to see. Our teammate Drugovich starts a little bit further down the order. Not what he wants, of course, here tonight under the lights in the Singapore Grand Prix. Following the Singapore Grand Prix, it's back-to-back American races. We go to Miami and then Circuit of the Americas immediately following that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that American swing goes. Another group of tracks that I don't have a great history at. Coda we have had a decent history at, but Miami not so much. As you can see now, getting through the hairpin without much issue there on this opening lap. It's all about just staying ahead, maintaining the gap. I'm not expecting to drive away from a Leclerc or a Piastri. The Red Bull Ford usually has more pace than those 2 cars, but they're on soft, so they should be able to stick within DRS range for the majority of this first run of this Grand Prix, which will also allow Albon and Jackson to stay close to me as well within a couple of seconds. So I realize that, recognize it right away, and I'm not going to put this unneeded pressure on myself to open up the gap to the cars that we just aren't going to be able to drive away from. So here on lap 3, just kind of letting things flow. As you can see, Leclerc is putting some pressure on us, about 0.6 behind, with Piastri about 1.4 seconds back. As you can see, the back end kick out a little bit right there. But yeah, just managing that gap to the best of my abilities here, and really also immediately kind of early wondering, when's the rain coming? I was hoping, you know, within the first 6 to 7 laps here that the rain was only going to be within about 10 to 15 minutes, but I hadn't heard anything at this point. It's now lap 7, so that was a bit of a concern, as we actually have a spin in the background. That's Kelly Mayer that's gone around, and that might bring out a safety car where she's stopped. Yes, it is going to bring out a safety car as she's gone around totally on her own. Oh my goodness, actually very lucky she's not out of the race there with a hit like that. So that's going to cause a bit of pit confusion here, as the 2 Trackhouse cars on the softs are going to pit, but everybody on the mediums will stay out. So that puts Drugovich into 4th, Hamilton into 5th, and there was still no sign of the rain, and I was waiting to see what the McLarens do. They stay out, so I stay out with them, but Drugovich is now pitting on lap 9, bringing as well as Liam Lawson with them, as well as Sato, as we as well have more drama under safety car. Jack Doohan, smoke pouring out of the back there of that Connor Sport McLaren, and it's going to be night over for him, a mechanical failure, and there it is. His day comes to an end. And now we're going to, stay out at the end of all this, and we'll be the control car for the restart, and I was really just basing it off of what the McLarens do. We're just trying to counteract them. So we stay ahead as we now control the pace, actually going wide out of the final turn there. I had a bit of a moment, and Albon's going to get right to the back of myself, but fortunately we will remain ahead on the rundown into turn number 1. What kind of pace can these McLarens put against us? Really starting to wonder if we should have pitted under that safety car, because there's still no sign of the rain, so we might have been actually screwed over by our own doing, really, as we continue on. Already opening up the gap to about 0.4 of a second. Albon with a run back at us couldn't really do much there, and we open up the gap to about 8.5 of a second by the end of the lap, and this gap continues to increase now. Over 1 second between myself and Albon. We've had this last 2 episode kind of thing where Red Bull and McLaren continue to go at it, but now another spin, and it's Lando Norris in the same spot Calimere lost it to bring out a safety car. No traffic really coming imminently, so we stay green, and Norris, you're going to see right here, just loses it exactly like Mare did. Doesn't hit any walls this time, unlike the Ferrari. As we continue on, finally getting confirmation. Rain in approximately 15 minutes. Way later than I wanted to hear. So not exactly the best scenario for us and for Albon or Jackson or, well, anybody that's not pitted yet. Leclerc is in the perfect position right now. He's P5. He's in the first position to move past everybody when they pit and be the eventual leader of the Grand Prix. And I think actually Drugovich will be the second one to potentially go into position to be able to go into that second spot of this race once this cycle's up, because I don't think him or Leclerc are going to be pitting again, so we actually might be in a bit of trouble right here. And then there was another issue that I was starting to uncover. Fuel. I didn't have enough of it.
Okay, mate, I need you to lift and coast a bit to save fuel here.
Okay, how much?
Just do it conveniently around the track until I tell you to stop.
Not the best news as we're heading into the pits now. Lap 15, it's the reality. The rain didn't come anywhere soon enough, so not the situation we wanted to be in, but we'll come in and take off the mediums, throw on those Bridgestone hard tires, and get ready to go again here. As honestly, maybe even could have thrown on the sauce, but it's just too unpredictable with the weather and not knowing exactly when it's going to come. So we're going to come out behind a whole train of cars that still have to come into the pits. Some are not going to have to pit, but some are. But we are going to be P12 currently. Aiden Jackson's going to come into the pits momentarily, and you're going to see as we come around the racetrack there, passing the Ferrari, and now side by side, Norris, Lawson, wheel to wheel. We pass Jackson, who's just exiting the pits. Now this is a perfect opportunity to actually save fuel. So I was doing that in Albon, trying to stick the nose up the inside there, catch me off guard. But you can see Norris through on Lawson, moves himself into P7 as we go up the inside now of the Andretti machine. Wheel to wheel with Liam Lawson down towards the end of the DRS straightaway. Wheel to wheel still into the apex, and he bounced off the curb and actually runs into us, but somehow, even running on simulation damage, we didn't get any. Very, very lucky to escape one right there, as you see me even asking the vehicle condition to make sure. Yeah, sure enough, very fortunately for us, no damage on the car. So now we have run down Lando Norris at this point, and I was basically trying to save fuel, but as well put a car or two between myself and Albon and just make sure I'm ahead. Now, as Norris is not going to make it quite easy, we're going to have to go around the outside here, and the job will be done as we exit the corner. There we go. We put a car between ourselves and Albon again. So now it's about saving fuel, but we run down Marino Sato, who throws a huge block on us on the DRS straight away. What's with these midfield cars lately that have not been very kind to us? Now Albon passes Norris as I lunge it up the inside and throw Sato out wide there, as that's really what he gets for how he just drove right there. So we put another car again between ourselves and Albon, save fuel until he's able to pass them. And fortunately, we have 3 laps of fuel extra currently, and Albon got held up quite a bit behind Marino Sato, so now he's over 2 seconds behind us, and Jackson is still behind both him and Norris. So exactly what we want to see. However, we have a new problem.
Okay, I need you to forget about fuel for a few laps and push as hard as you can. Rain is coming shortly and the 2 cars ahead are not pitting. You need to run them down.
Will I have enough fuel to make it pushing hard?
No, we will save the fuel in the rain. Give it everything here.
We went from managing the gap to saving fuel to now back into all push mode, because Leclerc and Drugovich have won out on the strategy game, and I say won out, it wasn't even that smart. It was just pitting at a common sense time, which we just dropped the ball on, and so did the McLarens. We have to push as hard as we can. Let's go through the grid.
what a turn of events we've seen here. Leclerc and Drugovich really have won out by pitting during the safety car. Owen is giving it everything while also having to manage fuel.
Owen has been lights out fast all weekend. It would be a bit of a shame to see him lose in this fashion. However, we know he's not going to give up. Ted, what can you share about his fuel situation?
Yeah, guys, I can tell you that they simply just underfueled the car. Red Bull took notice that they had been leaving a bit too much fuel in Owen's car and instead went too much the other way today. They are hoping the rain will slow down the pace so he can just barely make it on fuel here.
Callie Mayer runs 11th after her spin earlier. She had a good couple races to start with Ferrari, but the last three now haven't gone the way she would like.
She just needs to calm down a bit behind the wheel. She has shown the pace. Now she just needs to show the consistency in keeping the car on the track.
Joe runs in 16th in what has been a disappointing night for the Chinese driver.
We have spent this all through the grid segment closing the gap. Here's the advantage that we have. We have fresher tires by several laps on Drugovich and Leclerc, and in general we have had the fastest car all weekend long. We've been in control of this race, so you put those two combinations together, we are absolutely flying around this circuit. Rain is here on lap 24 at this point. The rain is coming down, so we are still giving it everything we've got, and we've only minimized the gap to Leclerc by 12 seconds, and we have driven away from the cars from behind. However, Albon 4 seconds back, Jackson 4.5 as we continue to reel the cars in front in. We are absolutely flying as the track continues to dampen, as we now are 3 seconds back from our teammate of Felipe Drugovich, 9 seconds to Charles Leclerc, and the gap would cut down to 1.7 by lap 26 to Drugovich and 7.3 to Leclerc, but the track's still not quite wet enough. But we're hitting that territory now where no matter what happens, we're going to stay out on the racetrack. And here you can see as we approach the end of lap 26 is still not wet enough to warrant coming into the pits, but as we head down the straightaway you start to see the track getting a little bit of a shine to it. Very, very light, but not quite there yet. But we managed to run Drugovich down and have extended the gap to nearly 6 seconds to both McLarens, right to the back of Drugovich, wheel to wheel now as we head down into the braking zone. Drugovich slides wide right there, he chops the nose, we swing back, a little switchback, we'll go around the outside this time, and there we go. Job well done. We'll take the position. Fuel 1.07 extra laps. We are losing a massive amount of fuel every single lap, and we just need the track to get wetter and wetter, and that's the only way it's going to happen for us here. 5 seconds to Leclerc at this point. You can see me lifting and coasting because now I realize, okay, we got pace, but is there enough? Is there enough fuel, etc.? There's so many questions at this point. Will we make it as we come through around these couple of corners? I'd be really devastated if we lose this Grand Prix at this point. Now, look at the rain on the track. You can see now it is officially damp. So we could definitely come in and put intermediates on at this point. But the gap to Leclerc had kind of stabilized as soon as the track got affected by this. We were hovering about 4-ish seconds behind at this point as I'm trying to close in, and it's going to be made easy. Leclerc spun around from the lead of the Grand Prix. Thank you very much, Charles Leclerc, to the lead in Singapore, looking for that first win. Albon runs into a stationary trackhouse car. Damage for sure done to that front wing, but it doesn't look major. He remains on the racetrack, but I'm going to be interested to see how that's going to play out here now, as it looks like one of the Ferraris as well getting involved in that. Leclerc is going to get back rolling, but the drama has hit a peak in Singapore in the closing laps. 3 to go, and we lead the way. The track getting wetter and wetter, of course, by the second. But Drugovich dropping like a rock right now. He is just hanging on for his life, and he is backing up to the McLarens. We are driving away from everybody with 2 laps to go. We thought we had lost the Grand Prix, and fortunately the pace had slowed down so much that we are going to have just enough fuel to make it to the end. Look at this with 2 laps to go, and nobody of course pitting it. The track got wet so late that it didn't seem to be worth the risk, especially for myself, to go in and put on the intermediates and try to make up the time. Although maybe we could have still made it up, it wasn't quite worth the risk, like I said. Approaching the final lap, actually tank slapping the wall, but we have just enough fuel as we are struggling extremely hard. 1 lap to go, the gap 7.5 seconds to Drugovich as he continues to back up to the McLarens as we head down into turn number 1. Albon with damage, under pressure as the conditions worsen as they start the final lap in the background. Jackson really looking for that podium result here now. Albon into turn 1 goes for a slide, and that might open the door for Aiden Jackson to put the pressure on the two-time defending champion. And now as they came down the DRS straight with no DRS, of course, Albon right there just in front of Jackson goes deep into the braking zone, wide off the track. Aiden Jackson to the left, Russell behind the pair of McLarens. Albon might not quite be in the championship fight this season, but he doesn't care even if his teammates going for the world championship, leading the championship. Albon doesn't make it easy. He gets back out in front with the damage hanging on tremendously. Of course, the conditions make it easier for him. Jackson goes defensive now on George Russell, and again, Albon slides, and that already opens the door for Aiden Jackson to get right back to him. What a battle on this final lap with the damaged McLaren trying to hang on to that third position. They go through the bridge, down into the hairpin for the final time, and Albon can't quite get that car to rotate, but Jackson can't pounce on it as we're coming through these final few moments at this point. A couple of corners remain. Into the corner they go again. Albon wide sliding, and Jackson's right there ready to pounce at the end of the straightaway. What's going to happen? We'll wait and see, but we're going to come through to finally win in Singapore, our 6th win of the season in dramatic fashion. But the battle is on behind as here comes Aiden Jackson right on the back of Alex Albon again, nearly crashing the car. He saves it. Albon again slides, and here we go. Can Aiden Jackson do anything about this? Looking for that third position coming to the final turn, and it's this train of 4 cars. Albon slides wide again. Jackson follows him off. Russell drag race side by side, but it's Albon getting third, Jackson barely holding on to fourth, and George Russell is going to still end up in 5th place. What a final lap between the two McLarens. Unbelievable scenes. If you're Aiden Jackson, you're probably livid right now with Alex Albon, as you can see him celebrating there with myself taking the victory. We will absolutely take that. We needed Alex Albon to fight like a lion right there, and he did exactly that for us. Thank you, Alex Albon. I'm the biggest Alex Albon fan right now. We went from Aiden Jackson opening up the gap, driving away 3 consecutive race victories to get a 6th win of the season, to now 2 back-to-back off the podium finishes in 4th, while Red Bull goes 1-2 back-to-back races with us on the top step both times to get our 5th win last episode in Monza, our 6th win today, which I believe is career win number 19 of our career in Formula 1, which is awesome. But this is really going to help us going into the next 2 races on the western side of the world there in the United States with Miami and COTA. Miami, not going to be an easy one, so a day like today really is beneficial. George Russell set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. We saw so much drama scattered in between the race. Callie Mayer rebounded after that spin in safety car to get P9, and we got 2 females in the top 10, which is awesome to see, Mayer and Chadwick. We have cut the gap down to 32 points to Jackson, 52 back is Drugovich, so it's really starting to look like it's myself versus Aiden Jackson at this point. The constructors as well, it's tight. Albon as well into 4th at this point, but look at the constructors before we wrap it up. 6 points, we're back on top with Red Bull. There might be a Red Bull announcement as well in the next episode, so stay tuned on that. I'll see you guys then in Miami. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.